AM560theanswer.com, on the AM560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Apparently, a gentleman named Paul W. has offered use of his Cessna 172 for me to fly to Southwest Florida if my flight gets canceled again.
Propeller prop plane sounds really good in this weather, too. That's a great choice.
He's said that the payment would be a 12-pack. We're going to have to stop a couple times, so I don't think a 12-pack is going to be enough for me, and I also don't want my pilot drinking.
I think you're going to have to stop 4 or 5 times.
No.
Right? No, 3 times?
Twice.
Oh.
To Florida. Yeah. I have access to a Cessna 172, but I wouldn't trust myself to fly because it's been a while.
Do you have your instrument reading?
No, just VFR.
Okay.
So that would make it complicated, too, because it's dark. So
And there's a lot of swirling snow around, too.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just, maybe before this becomes like a planes, trains, and automobiles thing, maybe I'll just rent a car and do a little blue highways. Just,
that'll be safe. Experience
America, the America that exists between Chicago and Southwest Florida. All right, we'll consider that. Friend from up north got a bunch of snow in advance of this snowpocalypse. And the
biggest storm of the century, according to CBS News.
Yeah. The whole, weather hysteria thing is always...
Bomb cyclone, they're calling it.
Yeah, well, but
snow bomb.
By the same token, I'm not going to, strip to my undies and go outside and play, too, when it's 15 below. So here's what I got from my friend per this first big snowfall they experienced. Received about 20 inches of snow last night, so I made a snowman. A feminist passed by and asked me why I didn't make a snow woman, so I made a snow woman. My feminist neighbor complained about the snow woman's voluptuous chest, saying it objectified women everywhere. The gay couple living nearby threw a hissy fit and moaned it could have been 2 snowmen instead.
Oh, okay.
The trans woman person asked why I didn't just make one snow person with detachable parts. This is all in the first half hour. The vegans at the end of the lane complained about the carrot nose, as veggies are food and are not properly used to decorate snow figures. I was being called a racist because the snow couple is white. I used food coloring to make one of the snow couple a different color and more racially inclusive. Then I was accused of using blackface on a snow person. The Middle Eastern gent across the road demanded the snow woman be completely covered. The police arrived saying someone had been offended. Of course, police matter. Feminist neighbor complained again that the broomstick of the snow woman needed to be removed because it depicted women in a domestic role.
As witches, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, or that, too.
Yeah, then the village's council on equity officer arrived and threatened me with eviction. TV news crew from ABC showed up. Probably, I don't know. Who's at ABC now?
John Garcia.
John Garcia. Yeah, John Garcia showed up.
Yeah.
Asked if I know the difference between snow men and snow women. I replied, snowballs, and now I'm a sexist. I was on the news as a suspected terrorist, racist, homophobe, and sensibility offender bent on stirring up trouble during difficult weather. I was asked if I have any accomplices. My children were taken by social services. Far-left protesters, offended by everything, marched down the street demanding that I be arrested. The boss called and fired me because of the negative association with work that had been all over social media. And I cry into my drink because all I wanted to do was build a snowman, and here I stand. This is 2022 America summed up with the simple... This is sort of like the Leonard Reed version of... building a snowman in 2022 America. All I want to do is build a snowman, and this is what happens in 2022 America. Pretty good.
That is excellent.
I like the use of building a snowman to...
Can you tweet that out?
Provide some social commentary. Yeah, I'll have to tweet that out. For more on this Christmas season, Professor Paul Kengor, editor of the American Spectator, congratulations. Back in October, he was named the new editor of the American Spectator, taking over for the storied R.M. at Terrell. He's also a professor at poli-sci at Grove City College in Grove City, PA, one of the few universities you're allowed to send your kids to these days. And author of The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration. Paul, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Dan and Amy. Can I wish you a Merry Christmas, or is that verboten?
Well,
I think I can say it to you guys, right?
yeah.
You can, yeah, I'm up for it.
And
Thank you very much.
But
Same
you,
back
but you
at you.
couldn't say it to the snowman or
And-
snow thing.
Right,
Snow
exactly.
person.
Yeah, snow
Right,
couple,
right,
so on and
yeah,
so forth.
yeah.
Dr. Vivek Murthy, he's the Surgeon General. He's trying to stand up a Ministry of Truth, Murthy's Ministry of Truth, you may remember, too, when it comes to all things COVID-related. He has a Merry Christmas wish for all of us, you included, Paul, and I'd like you to hear it and comment on it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vivek Murthy, Surgeon General of the United States, reminding you that the most important thing you can do to keep yourself, your loved ones, and your community safe from COVID-19 is to get an updated COVID vaccine. These vaccines are easy to get and proven to protect you from serious illness. Visit vaccines.gov to find one today. Thanks so much, and travel safely.
Thank you.
You can have a Merry Christmas, Paul, or you can die. Your choice.
Or kill grandma.
Well, and this whole booster thing, we are now dealing with COVID variants and mutations. And how do they even know that whatever they've produced, booster, for whatever it is that the thing has evolved to, is going to work? Is it really proven? Note that he said proven illness, by the way, which was interesting. Right, I mean, he's very careful in what he says there. So, are they going to start mandating this vaccine for what? For what variant? Is it even up with the current variant? And of course, liberals don't even ask these things. They just put on their masks so they can virtue signal to one another. It's just crazy.
I know. And the Mayor Adams from New York, he had a mask on during his press conference yesterday, and then a few hours later was at a club, of course, without his mask on.
Yeah, what a joke. What a joke.
Yeah.
And again, probably not wishing anybody a Merry Christmas, but corporate America spent all of June celebrating Gay Pride Month, right? The NFL launched a Football is Gay campaign. NASCAR is even using gay pride logos. And I got an email from a reader of mine at American Spectator who sent me a company email from his company HR person telling them that in November they recognize Intersex Day of Remembrance, November 8th, Transgender Awareness Week, November 13th through 19th, and Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 20th. And this person said to me, I want to see if the HR person's going to send out an email wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. I bet they're not, and of course they're not. Of course. So the whole thing it's just modern America has really become depressing and depraved.
Well, we're well beyond Merry Christmas. The elimination of said we can't use the term American anymore. We have to use the term U.S. citizen, according to Stanford.
Oh, that's right. We don't want to upset people.
And in the Marine Corps, has been advised that its drill instructors should no longer be referred to by gender terms like ma'am or sir.
What?
This is the Marine Corps. The Army, Navy, and Coast Guard effectively de-emphasize gender in an integrated environment. Instead of saying ma'am or sir, recruits in these services refer to the drill instructors using their ranks or roles, followed by their last names. Gendered identifiers prime recruits to think about or visually search for a drill instructor's gender first before the rank or role. Right? If you don't use ma'am or sir, they won't notice who the men and women are, you see.
Yeah, and by the way, U.S. citizen, I mean, that would exclude people living in America who aren't U.S. citizens. So, I mean, there's something exclude. I mean, wouldn't that be a form of discrimination, phobia against, non-documented citizens or immigrants or whatever?
Well, that's right.
So,
people can't be
kinds of
illegal.
problems here. Yeah.
Right. People can't be illegal. Also, just on the on this topic, I mean, just how truly depraved it's getting and sick and dangerous, particularly as we're removing parents from medical decisions related to their children. The latest mutilation of children, shoulder width reduction surgery. Have you seen this?
No.
In addition to, allowing kids to mutilate themselves with respect to their reproductive parts and so forth, shoulder width reduction surgery.
Wow.
And you see
part of
really
transitioning.
crippling.
Yeah, it's all body positivity. I mean, so you want you're transitioning from you're pretending to go from a dude to a woman, and you want to look the part, so you want.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's some, and there's pictures of it. It's brutal. It's disgusting.
I see.
Wow.
It's sad.
That's
Really brutal. I mean, the number of lawsuits that ought to be coming out of this, ought to be, pun intended here, crippling, right, to the whole healthcare industry, the whole mental health industry. I mean, people need to fight back. I mean, if your kid goes in and is maimed with what shoulder? What's it called?
Shoulder width reduction surgery.
Oh, wow. I mean, that on top of what they're doing to your private parts and your children. I mean, this is absolute madness. And the only way that it could happen would be with ideology, the insanity of liberal, progressive, secular progressive ideology behind it. But at some point, Dan, Amy, I've just been wanting to know, when are the lawsuits going to come along that are going to smack all of this down? And in fact, I'm still waiting. Here we are now, December 22nd, 2022. I'm still waiting for the vax mandate lawsuits to hit. And a friend of mine sent me an email a couple weeks ago about a very close friend of his who got all of his COVID shots because he was required to because of where he teaches.
yeah.
And the guy immediately had a series of strokes, and the guy now can barely speak. And I said to my friend, I said his family should be suing the daylights out of the school. And he said, well, blah 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 blah. I don't think they ever proceeded with it. I think the only way that you can fight back with some of these things is, unfortunately, to fight back legally.
Well, and there's more and more, dare I say, science that would support such claims particularly against mandates and any adverse outcomes. This study out of the Cleveland Clinic, which is getting no attention for obvious reasons, they'll be obvious in a moment. The Cleveland Clinic study finds that the risk of infection in the cohort they looked at, the risk of infection increases incrementally with each prior non-bivalent vaccine dose. So as you've been getting the vax and the boosters, your risk of infection has been increasing incrementally to this period now of the bivalent vaccines.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. In fact, I remember one of the first studies that I was citing when I was writing on this stuff was a Cleveland Institute clinic study of something like 52,000 employees. I mean, the number, I almost remember it exactly. It's like 52,280, something like that. And it made the point that people who had gotten COVID-19 appeared to have long-lasting immunity and would not need to be vaccinated. And I wrote about it for one of the publications that I write for. It wasn't the American Spectator. And a couple days later, the editor said, "Hey, you got this wrong." And I said, "What do you mean I got it wrong?" And he sent me another statement from the Cleveland Clinic urging people to get vaccinated anyway. And I said, wait a second, are you looking at this? So at first they released this study, and then a week later they released this public statement through the PR office basically telling people to get vaccinated anyway, when a week earlier they told them not to. And I said to my editor, I said, can't you tell what's going on here? I mean, they're doing this under pressure of losing grant funding. That's what's going on here. So the whole corruption, and for people out there, liberals who are listening who want more government involvement in medicine, could you imagine if we didn't have private health care in America? If this was all done top down from a state health ministry, from something like some National Institutes of Health, or something like what Britain has with the NHS? I mean, you wouldn't have any options at all. It's just a disaster.
He is Professor Paul Kengor, the editor of the American Spectator, newly minted, professor poli-sci at Grove City College in Grove City, PA, author of the book The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration. Professor Kengor, thanks so much for joining us. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you both. Thanks.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because